Submissive men think it's hard to find a good dominant woman.
First and foremost, this is not an attack on Mistress Mercy, and I don't want to see any of my followers attacking her either. I am merely giving her a simple response from the perspective of a submissive man, just so she can understand the other side. More importantly, she's not exactly wrong in her video either. Not to mention, she's kind of a friend of a friend, but more on that in a little bit. But to start off, men are struggling to find partners across the board. The so-called male loneliness epidemic has pretty much been kind of commonplace in this type of discussion already. According to Tinder, women only swipe right on about 10% of men, whereas women swipe right on about 70% of women. One of the reasons I really don't like the word incel is because the term basically means involuntary celibate. You're mocking somebody because they're not getting laid. That's really not all that different from slut-shaming if you ask me, and when you think about it, over 1/3 of men under 30 either are still virgins or haven't been on a date in the last 3 years. And it wasn't all that long ago that Cheesecake Factory list was making the rounds on the internet. Now, it goes without saying that not all women agree with that list, but the fact that the list even got made to begin with says a lot about our dating culture right now. And the reality is, for the most part, women still expect men to make the first move and be the primary provider in the relationship. To this day, men are still the primary provider in about 70% of relationships. Truth is, most guys don't really have a problem with strong women, but it's very clear that women are choosing the princess treatment over taking the lead in a relationship or even meeting men halfway. Of course, we're also getting to a point where men are starting to push back against this because the few guys who are dating aren't putting up with the spoiled princess attitude anymore. Currently, there's a video going viral of a guy kicking a woman out of his car because she wasn't satisfied with a Starbucks date being the first date. Now, while I don't feel sorry for that chick because she was being kind of petty, I just remembered you and Goddess Sylvanus are currently in New Orleans. So feel free to check out our local coffee shops. We have some nice ones. Probably most famous is Café Du Monde. Now, that's just the problem with modern dating in general right now. When it comes to more kinky relationships, dom-subs, it's even harder to get into contact with somebody. Most guys are working their life away right now just trying to make ends meet. We don't have the time to prioritize finding a dominant woman. And even if we do try to make an effort, it's not long before the catfish come out. And it just so happens I currently have a running gag where I troll catfish. Here's a few of them. Here's one calling herself Mistress Mary. Notice something? Pause to read if you want to laugh. Here's another. Yet another. Does this one look familiar to you? Now, I try to report them, but for some reason the process is an absolute pain in the ass, and trolling them's a lot of fun anyway. I mean, come on. And I'm pretty sure you're already well aware of all these catfish using your likeness and Goddess Sylvanus' likeness. In fact, I frequently share these screenshots with her. So yeah, with the way all these social networks spy on anybody, the second you start looking for how to get in contact with the dom, you're just going to be bombarded with catfish and spam. And of the population of women, very few are dominant to begin with. There's simply an excess number of submissive men to the number of truly dominant women. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you unfortunately have to deal with guys ghosting y'all, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to tell if y'all are real or faking it to begin with. Of course, when you're a more mainstream and well-known dom like yourself, it's kind of obvious. Finding a dom who actually lives near you, that's a different story altogether. In fact, even though I speak out and encourage men that, hey, if you really need physical touch and you really want to explore your sexuality, you can always hit the strip club to get some human contact. The number of men who will outright say, I don't live anywhere near one, is kind of astonishing. Then again, I work at a strip club, so the idea of living nowhere near one kind of blows my mind, personally. Hopefully in the near future, more women will take up a more dominant mantle in a relationship, but for the time being, dominant women are few and far between. Just a little food for thought. Speaking of food, make sure you get you some nice soul food while you're in New Orleans, you hear?